morning, everybody. I am incredibly nervous. It's my first time ever doing anything like this, so just bear with me if I pause or anything like that, but I'm going to try my absolute best. So thank you for that introduction. Like I said, I am a careers advisor first half at week for vulnerable young people. So them vulnerable young people like young offenders, looked after children, and I've done that for a lot of years, since 2006. But I've been brought here by Lee, he put my name forward just to embarrass you, for the sports side of things, really. I'm an adaptive athlete, and I've been doing that since 2017. So I generally do Olympic weightlifting, conditioning, and gymnastics. That's my chosen area. But recently, I'm training for half marathon. So I'm 5 weeks in on that. I ran 11 miles, not yesterday, before, and that was really, really tough for someone that's not a runner. But before I get started on my talk, Reach have asked me to make sure that you're all awake. So what I thought I'd do is, I thought we'd all get out of our seats and do 10 burpees each. No? No, that's fair enough. So now, what I am going to do, and there'll be a reason behind this as well, and I'll explain after I've done it. So I'm going to start off by looking someone in the eye, and I'm going to clap. I know you've done a lot of clapping already, but we're going to clap some more. But when I look at you and I clap, I want you to stand up, and I want you to clap, and I want you to do that all round room until we're all clapping. Okay? When we're all clapping, I'm going to raise my hand and you just stop and sit down, okay? So it's just going to be like a quick minute because I'm told I need to be quick. So I'll come out here, and I best do it to my little Lilia first because she loves attention. So Lilia, I'm going to look at you and I'm going to clap. So you clap and start clapping. You need to look round, choose someone. Now you need to stand up and start clapping. Come on, quicker. Everybody. People stand up, start looking at people and clapping. Yeah, you can sit down now. Thank you for that. I mean, the first reason for that was just to guarantee myself a standing ovation. So thank you for that. But no, the reason behind it was for communication, and it's something I'm quite passionate about, as in, I've done a few podcasts recently, and I've been asked a number of times, what do I feel when someone asks me, what happened to you? What's happened to your arm? It's not, they'll say, it's not right, is it? I mean, no, it happened, you were just born like it. But for me, I never get cross because I welcome that. Majority of the time, it's children that ask. So for me to get cross at a child would then mean that they would never come up to another disabled person and ask again, regardless of what that disability is. But I find that what we're doing at the moment is we're looking at wrong thing. They're just words. People are just curious. I've got a curious mind. And I think we're isolating ourselves as a group by saying, oh, that's the wrong word, you shouldn't be saying this word or that word, you should be saying this. I mean, people are just going to be so scared to even come near us. I used to be a primary school teacher, so when I used to go in, that's the first thing that I used to do if I did supply. I'd do a question and answer session because people are curious, we want to know. So, I mean, that is just my opinion, but, just bear in mind when people are staring or looking, or you've got your mum or dad pulling that child away because they're scared that they're going to ask you something. Just consider that and bear that in mind, that once they've asked, then they're really not bothered. When I've asked a group of primary school kids, what do you want to ask me? And then I might get 2 or 3 questions about my arm, but then they want to know how I plait my hair or what I watched on telly night before. They're not bothered. So yeah, that was just a little exercise just to, I suppose, put my point of view across on that. So I'm going to get on with what is my story, and I want you to just bear with me, because there's going to be certain elements to this story that you think, well, what's the point of that? That doesn't resonate to us. But it all plays a part. I am 42, so the story's not quick. And there's lots of things happen. There's obviously lots of bits missing as well in this. because otherwise I'd be here all day. And nobody wants to listen to a Barnsley accent all day. So I'm going to start my story. And so like Bill's daughter, I was born, there were no scans. So I was a complete surprise. But unfortunately, my dad didn't react in the same way. He had to be removed from the room. He was screaming, had to be removed from the room, never came back for a visit that night. And then the following day, he came and just said, she's no child of mine. My mum and dad stayed together for about 2 years after that. And I obviously weren't aware of that at the time. I've done a lot of questioning, and my mum, quite recently as well. It's been quite emotional, really, trying to get ready for this so that I can portray this as it actually was. But what I was aware of growing up was that my sister, she's 15 months older than me, so a really small age gap. My dad reacted differently with her, like a dad-daughter relationship, I suppose. You know, he'd sit on his knee, whereas I'd just sit in the corner of the room and it just didn't feel right. It weren't right. So I'd constantly ask my mum questions all the time, and she'd say, when you're old enough, I will tell you, and I'll tell you the truth, but you're too young at the moment. You know, and now I understand, obviously, it's quite a big thing. But that aside, you know, primary school, wonderful. Kids wanted to be my friend because I looked different. You know, they used to paint my little arm, nails. They loved all like that. Secondary school, again, really unscathed. And actually in secondary school when I sent a letter back to the hospital to let them know that I didn't want a false arm. I really didn't get on with mine. It caused me a lot of issues. And back in the day, I don't know if anybody had one of these false arms, but you used to have a little hole there, so you put a sock on, and then put your arm on, and then pull the sock through arm. And that obviously took all my top layer of my skin off, so now I'm allergic to all sorts. I mean, I'm allergic to starch on tatties, so I don't look cooking, do I, Lee? You know, win-win, there's always a silver lining. But yeah, went on to college, and then that's when I met Lee. Gives a wave, Lee, let's embarrass you. Here we go. And again, college were lovely, met some wonderful people. And I wanted a part-time job at college. I brought up in a pub and worked there, and I loved being at the side at bar, so that weren't the job for me. So I went into Lloyd's Pharmacy, and I took my CV, because obviously we printed it out then. There were no, internet were one of them where you had to dial it up. Quite fearful of internet back then. But yeah, I took my CV in, and they just handed it me straight back. No, you can't apply here. I'm like, why? Why can't I apply here? Because of your arm. I'm like, oh, why? Because you'll not be able to use buffer. I mean, I didn't even know what a buffer was, but I was like, how do you know I can't use buffer? Well, so anyway, they brought me back and they said, well, you'll have to have a separate trial, and then if you pass that trial with buffer, then you can have an interview. Anyway, has anybody used a buffer before? No? Yeah? I mean, you'll know how hard they are. Just so hard to use. So when I first started using it, we were going all over it, we were bouncing everywhere. I couldn't use it. And then lady manager, she called Christine, remember, come upstairs, would use it. Like a dream. It just glided. So, yeah, went on and I got that job. And then similar, another job, music shop. I knew this time I was a bit canny. So I put my coat sleeve in my pocket. I thought, they'll not know. And they didn't know. And obviously, T-shirt, the uniform was a T-shirt. Brilliant. So I got took it back. You didn't tell us about that. So then I had to do some more lifting to show them that I could do the job. So, yeah, all that went by, you know, got myself a job, I've always worked. And then we got married. Again, wedding photos had to be staged because I didn't want a photo of my arm. You know, by this point, I'd asked my mum, I'd said, tell me about my dad, what happened? And without me realising, I'd started covering up. So when I went out, I'd put a coat or a cardigan over my arm. Only when I were on my own, though. I'm not quite sure why, when I were with friends or anybody else, it were any different. I can't actually explain that. But that got gradually worse and worse and worse until I got to a point where, I was just wearing clothes to just like cover me up all the time, and then we started trying for a baby, and then I had recurrent miscarriage. So it was like another nod for me to something else to be ashamed of. You can't even get pregnant and keep a baby, which sounds, it sounds ridiculous really, but at a time when you've got poor mental health, that's how I felt. Luckily, went on to get pregnant with our little Maya, gives a wave, Maya. Come on, it's a family affair. Yeah, so as soon as I had Maya, my mental health just got so much better, like somebody flicked a switch and it was fine. And then not long after, got pregnant with our little chops, and I had Lily in the car. Of course I did. But that just brought PTSD without me realising. So I wouldn't recommend it. Really wouldn't recommend it. And if you go to hospital and you tell them that you're in labour and they don't believe you, just stay there. Just stay there. So yeah, when Lily was about 4 years old, my mental health by that time was absolutely appalling. It was shocking. So Lee's been a really good support and just said, you just need to get yourself and do something for yourself, because by that point I was just the main carer Lee worked with. So I started CrossFit, and that were in 2017. And I didn't know anybody else that did CrossFit that was disabled, had one arm. I'd never even picked a barbell up before. And gosh, it was hard. It was so hard. I spent my first about a year and a half, this bit of my arm was just black with being bruised constantly, trying again to lift bar. But I started using a seatbelt strap because I didn't see anybody. There weren't really anybody on Instagram that were doing it at the time. So I'd use a seatbelt strap for lifting, but it would grow throughout the session. So I know we've got some CrossFitters in here because they've been up to me already. And you know how quick and fast it is. So yeah, that's when I started thinking, I need something else. I can't continue. I tried a sports arm, that didn't work. It's really painful, and CrossFit, like I say, is really quick. So that's when I started using a strap. And you brought it home, didn't you, Lee, from work? And it was just like a lifting, what is it called, a lifting sling, something like that. And that could take a ton. So I thought, yeah, could only deadlift about 50 at a time, but I'd have a sling that was a ton. But that's why I've gone on to create my own strap, because that strap was absolutely great, but it weren't padded, it weren't kind to your skin. So that's where loop strap was born. At that time as well, I also went to physio. I thought, I'll just double check that I'm okay. And as soon as they saw me, it just says you're in protective mode. And what I didn't realise was, because I was trying to hide myself, whenever I stood like that. And whenever I looked at mirror, I went like that. So I'd lost all my muscle tone down my left hand side. I'd overstretched and, I was just a mess. And I am still building muscle from doing that for that many years. But best thing I ever did was go and see a physio. And like I say, I still work on that to this day, which is why sometimes I train about 8 times a week, because I do specific things for what I call my little arm. So from that, I was contacted by Nike, blown away. Last from Barnsley. I was like, what? And in fact, I actually ignored message. And then when I told Lee, he made me reply. But when I replied, they said I'd have to talk on video. So I tried to say no again. And then Lee made me do it. Anyway, we went down London, and I went and did that. And it changed game for me completely. Massively changed game. And I just thought, you know what, if Nike believes in me, then I must start believing myself. So I started a PT course. I'd always wanted to do it. But I thought, how can I teach somebody when I've only got one arm? After doing the Nike video, my coach at the time stopped speaking to me. No reason, really. I want to surmise, I don't anyway. But I left CrossFit, and that had a massive impact on mental health, and I went on to have a breakdown at that point. But that went on for a long time, and I was waking up with regular panic attacks, and I just thought, something had to give. And again, Lee gave me that push I needed, and I remember sitting there on dining room table, and I was rocking at this point. My mental health was that poor. I just thought, what is my legacy? What are people going to think of me? I've got no You know, if I die tomorrow, what people go, oh yeah, Louise, what have I done? And I've not done anything, so I thought, that's it. From today, I'm changing. And I picked up The Fear Bubble, Ant Middleton book. And there were a section of that were really poignant in my mental health journey. And he said, in one of his books, think of a corridor. Your right end at corridor, there's doors all the way down. And you either stay where you are now, and that be it, or you go and you open them doors. You'll not know what's behind it, so there'll be some fear, but that's the only time you'll ever be able to grow. So I thought, right, I'm on corridor, I'm going through doors. So that's what I did, I went through doors. And whereas all the time in past I'd said no to things, I don't want to do that because I don't want to talk out loud. I don't talk, I don't do that. I just said yeah to absolutely everything. I read self-help books. I just listened to podcasts. Just started working on myself really. And then one day I went up to Sainsbury's and I come back down and thought, I ain't got a cardigan. I didn't have one. And that, although it was just at top of the street and back, I'd done it, I was on my own, and I had no cardigan. And I remember that day really well because I had a weightlifting session that night. And I told my weightlifting coach, I went, I'm in a short way, I had a cardigan. I mean, if somebody said that out loud, you'd think, what the chuffing else she on about? But for me, it was just like a nod to growth, as in, you know, that you get in somewhere, it's working. And I started to recognise from doing all this research about myself that I was a people pleaser, and that obviously came from, you know, my dad saying what he did. You know, and I realised that no were a full sentence. My self-worth and my confidence, everything, it just started to increase. And I started wearing what I wanted without fear or judgment from others. Like my girls will laugh when, you know, if we go somewhere and they'll go, oh, you used to wear that. And it would be something massive that just used to cover me up and something dark. So I weren't, I mean, look at me today, I mean, brightest colours. I'm not bothered anymore. And I think, for me as well, one of the massive changing things was knowing who your people are. And I mean, this has been said quite a bit whilst I've been here, and saying, knowing who, you know, you come to a Reach event and you feel comfortable because these are your people. I've never had that. I've never seen anybody like me. The only time I did, do now obviously because of Instagram and social media, it's great, but I remember we came to Newcastle, didn't we? We went out on night out, called into McDonald's on the way home, rough. And Lee went, oh, look, there's that lass has got the same arm as you. And I threw up in my mouth because I didn't see myself as somebody with a disability. So that, you know, that was then. So if I'd have had this, you know, for my life, wow, imagine change. Imagine how different I'd be. And then I was sat on a beach in Cornwall, just tucking into a Cornish pasty. And I had my glass of Prosecco outside. There's a theme here, isn't there? I love a glass of Prosecco. And I got an email. We want you to do a catwalk. Like that with Cornish pasty, you walk. No. But I did it. I made myself do it. And I think I'd like to say this is probably scarier. I am more scared doing this, but I made myself do it because I now know that you've got to make yourself do things that you're scared of to be able to grow. And, you know, that catwalk was just absolutely incredible. So for me, what I say is I spread my limb different wings. Sorry. Yeah, the first time in my life I was flying. I still feel like I'm living somebody else's life, just for a little while. Because in my mind, I've only been disabled for 6 years. Because I've been hiding who I am. But not anymore. I won't anymore. I've accepted my arm. Sorry. But I want to learn to love it, and I don't at the minute. I want to be one of them. I want to be one of them people that love their arm, that see it as their superpower. Yeah, I'm not there yet. And, you know, I'm not going to stand on here and say, yeah, I absolutely love it, it's brilliant. That's not where I am. So mental health is one of them things you will constantly, I know I constantly need to work on that. So yeah, to conclude, she's no child of mine. So yeah, that might have hindered me, quite clearly it has, for a lot of years. But the only person that's lost is him. You know, I am the strong, not portraying that a minute, but I am now really strong. You know, I think I'm a good mum. Girls? Might not have said that this morning when she'd lost a beauty blender, but which was obviously my fault. But yeah, I just hope that, you know, because my Instagram, I'm not an influencer, if you like, or if I am, I'm not right good, because I won't sell things that I don't truly believe in, because people that know me are potentially going to buy that. But yeah, I want to be an inspiration to others, and I want to be a role model for children, young people, anybody else that wants to get into fitness or, you know, anything like that. I want to be present. So yeah, that's me and my mantras, really, because I were offered a question and answer, and I thought, no, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to stand up here, even with a nervous voice, I'm going to do it regardless. And that's because, you know, my mantras are, confidence is on the other side of fear. And we never fail, we either win or we learn. So if you take anything away today from that, just push yourself, because it has literally changed my life completely. Like, I'm stood here, I didn't even talk 3 years ago, and I'm stood here talking to you a lot. Blow my mind. So thank you for listening. Apologies for emotion, I knew it was going to happen. If you've got any questions, please go and find me. So thank you.
Everybody, Louise Hawkins.